All right, well, folks, we're going to get this thing started off right. We're going to be doing a live set as we promised here.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Well, actually, before we do that, though, we're going to take a quick little jump in here because we got another guest in the house.
A great
Mike Cann.
Hello.
Hello, man. How's it going?
Hello.
That's right.
It's an honor to have these people in.
Yeah, really. I know. This is crazy. It's like Celebrity Day here on the show, you know?
Thank you.
So you guys have been down at Occupy Boston today, right?
Yes.
All right. So what's going on there today?
It's tough to say.
Yeah.
A lot of tents are being built.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tents down there. It's definitely growing.
That's right.
Nice.
Oh, really? So we don't have the crowd like getting sick of it and going home. They're sticking it out.
It's grown to another section, I guess, on the other side.
Oh, crap.
And there may be some issues with the police and the city over that one, I think.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's dig a little deeper, Mike. You've been doing some very interesting journalism with regard to who's organizing this Occupy Boston thing, and you've been finding out some interesting things. What is it? Tell us a little bit about who the Wayseers are. Who's this Laporta guy? And tell us about our own John Loftus's attempt to speak at one of these things.
It's tough to, we kind of put that out there and let people decide. And even some of our links were maybe a little, pushing it because I want people to kind of look at it. My real issue with the whole thing, I think, was that when I went down there, I felt like I was lied to a little bit. That they weren't honest. That there are organizers of this. Obviously, there are real organizers behind this whole thing.
There are.
And I think that they basically said there weren't, and that bothered me. And
yeah.
The first person they put out was just Mr. Laporto. And
he's got some interesting videos on YouTube.
Yeah, he's kind of new age cultish,
Yeah.
And should he really be the person that you immediately send to the press? I just didn't have a lot of confidence there, and especially when he shows up as a Democrat operative. It's kind of like, what is this? What is this? I think we all had questions on it. I hope and think, from what I've heard from some of my other friends who are local journalists, that it seems like they are opening up a little more. I hope that's the case, and I don't want to bash it all. This event, I've been down there more than most people.
Right.
I'm getting people down there. I'm supporting it. I think that there's definitely a role to be had down there for all types of people who are just regular people, working class. And I'm not against people down there at all. I think there's a lot of great people down there. Actually, lucky to have Diane Russell we brought in the studio with us. She's a state rep from Maine.
Oh, wow.
And she's down here in Boston because of this today. She's the one who brought in the marijuana legalization, bill.
Yes.
She introduced it in the state of Maine. So she's really someone that I like a lot. I love.
You lost.
We lost. We tried. We got the conversation going though in a remarkable way, and and actually pulled it off from the fringe where it's been for so long, and really made it a central conversation point, and talked about a lot of good things that a lot of people didn't really necessarily expect to hear.
Okay. Was the vote close?
Not even close.
Oh, damn. Ouch.
But you're still a popular state rep in Maine, aren't you?
Well, I'm particularly popular in my district.
They love you now, right?
Yeah. It's interesting with politicians are so afraid of touching this issue. Most people keep saying, well, why won't people touch it? Why won't people vote for it? And it's just fear. And the reality that politicians need to hear is that when you do put yourself out there, it was like 95% positive and only 5% were like, you're crazy. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that. We already knew that.
Nice. All right. Now, one of the things that I've been getting, reading the articles, talking to people, is it's not always clear exactly what this movement is trying to do, because they say, we're occupying Boston, we're against corporate greed, and they say, okay, then what are you doing after that?
Which answer do you want?
Yeah, really.
From me or Diane?
You can both answer. Go
first.
I think it's kind of that's a lot of my point too. But at the same time, I think that they have an answer. Their answer is that, well, that's why you're here. You have to tell us what this is going to be about.
Sure.
And that your voice does count, and you can make changes. My issue down there is kind of the organization. I'm an organizer. I'm sitting down there for hours, and I don't see anything of importance that I really want to see. Like when they're voting on these demands, and I can't sit down there for 8 days. I'm working.
No, you can't.
You know what I mean? Like things need to move more quickly, and it can't be about toilet duty, and that someone shouldn't smoke over here because someone has asthma. I mean, these things are that bothered me, and that turned me off. So my thing was about the organizing. I want to see it a little more. But I like the fact that we can go down there and express our point. I love the open mics.
Yeah, definitely.
The open mics is a very cool thing they're doing down there.
Yeah. Has it been a real open mic and no one's been forced out or shoved?
Let's put it this way. There was that incident you talked about with John. I think that was just a trainer with a certain organization, maybe a union, that just didn't. This is the way they deal with things. They're very busy, and I think it just got a little carried away with some of the other organizers that didn't really understand what was going on. And I don't think it was a big deal. And I think that open mics, for the most part, I've heard some people complain that they couldn't get on and they got shut down, but I haven't seen it. I mean, they basically have a queue. You put your name on the queue, you can go up there and speak. And maybe it's not always like that, but a lot of times in the afternoon it is. I've gone up there and spoken, and I've been there for like 10 minutes and asked to speak. It's like, so a lot of it I really do really support. I like the union message. I like that we're bringing different groups together. The End the Fed people are talking to the marijuana people, and Democrats are working with End the Fed people. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the unions are hearing my marijuana message.
Right.
They're saying, I'm down there saying, hey, we're working class too. We're not in unions, but we're musicians, we're artists, and we support the legalization thing. So why don't you do that union so we can get on your thing, because we like you too, And it's kind of like
a lot of coalition building.
Yeah, I think that's a very good thing that's going on down there. Diane, I don't know if you want to.
I'll jump in. Well, so a lot of folks are paying attention because it's happened in the last 3 weeks, but this is not the beginning. I mean, I traveled from Maine to Madison through 3 snowstorms when Madison was coming together. And when I went out there, they were organized, which I really appreciate. Having organization is important because you have to have a vision of where you're going. But they also didn't necessarily have the answers of what exactly they wanted. I mean, they were able to coalesce around one particular issue, and that was the budget, because the governor out there had given them such on a silver platter an organizing opportunity, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But I'm a legislator. I mean, an organizer who happens to be a legislator. So I see things through the lens of organizing. I also do a lot of media relations work and social organizing and stuff. So I see it through a few different lenses. And for me, I've been in the trenches with a lot of people for years, and I think we're focused on what are the outcomes, which is an important question, but we also, I said this earlier when Mike and I were chatting, that we've got to focus on what unites us, and that is the problem. Once you can identify the problem, then you can, I think what the Occupy movement has the ability to do if they choose to, again, there's a real lack of structure, but if they choose to, they can really force people to stay at the table until they work things out. I mean, I think Mike was absolutely right when you've got Democrats talking about, with the End the Fed folks, which are often Ron Paul or some, and in Maine we had some Tea Party people come to Occupy Maine, and libertarians, and I'm in this weird nexus where I'm super progressive, but I'm almost so progressive in some areas that I'm more of a progressive libertarian. And I value certain things that libertarians don't, and I see the economy in a different way, but there are certain parts of the libertarian perspective that I certainly support. Sure. And so libertarians have a hard time knowing quite what to do with me, because I'm all about, first I was out there and I was working to legalize marijuana, and they were all about that, and there were a lot of Tea Party people that were like, is she seriously a progressive and not a Republican? This is awesome. And then I went to Madison to support, to find out what was going on there, because I knew that stuff was coming to our state, and sure enough it did. But I think what we were finding is that everyone is finally waking up to the fact that there's this 1% or 2% of people who control everything, who are actively trying to divide us. And when I came back from Wisconsin, we had a big rally, a solidarity rally, and there were people who were there from the Tea Party who were counter-protesting. Now, there were about 500 of us and about 20 of them.
The minority.
Right, that was pretty impressive. But I said, as I was speaking, there are people here who disagree with us. And folks in the audience started, booing. And I said, no. We care about the same things. We may disagree with how we get there, but at the end of the day, we all have fewer dollars in our paycheck. We all have fewer dollars in our wallet. and we're looking for people to blame because we don't know what else to do. And so the blame game has got to stop. And I give Occupy the opportunity. I give them props for saying it. The buck literally stops here. We're going to sit here until we figure this out. And I think the leaderless thing is inefficient, it's ineffective, but I get why they're doing it. At some point, you can't run things by committee. It doesn't work that way. Things like that fail. And whether you want leaders or not, there are leaders by title, which is what we're often really frustrated with, and then there are leaders who are just natural leaders who rise up, and those are the people that you're going to see come out of this.
All right, there you go, definitely. Now the question I have for the two of you is: now people are out there, they're talking, they're doing their thing, but how long can we keep doing this before we actually have to make some progress towards a solution? Because the thing that I kind of worry about is that eventually that this thing just might kind of fizzle out. That people eventually will get sick of it. They'll go home. I mean, do you feel like there's any kind of a deadline looming?
I don't know that there's necessarily a deadline. I mean, who puts a deadline on progress or democracy?
Well, true enough,
Democracy's messy. But in terms of, the soundbite culture that we live in, where we can't actually have rational discussions about anything beyond, 140 characters, I think you're absolutely right that people are going to wonder what's going on. The frustration I have is that when people do show up, and we did this afternoon, I wanted to see what was happening in Boston because what was happening in Portland was a little unorganized as well. And I just wanted to see what was happening. I think people, when they go to a protest, they want to rally. They want to feel something, and that's something that I feel it seems to be lacking from a lot of what's happening. They want to march, they want a purpose, and I think if there is no purpose going forward, you are going to find the energy and the energy fizzle, but you're also going to see, one thing that needs to happen is that working people need to show up on the weekends and the evenings. The interesting thing about Madison was at 4 o'clock they had a rally. At 5 o'clock everybody was in the Capitol, and the reason for that was they respected the fact that people were working. At noon they had a march, and everybody showed up for their lunch break, and they marched, and then they went back to work. It was brilliant. And the firefighters came in. It was awesome. But I'm not going to lie.
Wow, nice.
I'm still a gal.
The firefighters came in. Yay!
Yeah.
What did I miss today?
That was Madison. But people need to show up, and I think that's when change happens.
Yeah.
But when people like that are normal working class people show up, and there's no direction, there's no thing for them to do. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get the masses to show up.
Sure.
I think it's growing. I definitely see that it's growing.
Sure.
And I think it will continue to grow for a while. I think the deadline, the question you asked, is when it really gets cold. I think that's it.
All right, fair enough.
When we have our first blizzard, there might be some guys out there in tents, but for how long?
Okay,
and how many of them?
All right, then. So we got about 2 months, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know. In Madison, it was frigid, and we had snow. I went through a snowstorm, lake effect snowstorms, which are different than northeast.
It could be maybe it's January, but eventually we get one of those 1 week storms. You know what I'm talking about?
They were camped out in the Capitol.
It
was warmer.
They'll drive them all the way.
Who's gonna show up? I ain't going down
no
there.
Way. No way.
I'm eating hot chocolate. Drinking hot chocolate. Whatever.
Turn up the heat.
Yeah.
The hot chocolate.
We'll wait till the spring.
We'll take a break for winter. We'll come back in the spring. All right, Mike. If folks want to learn more about this, where do they go?
You know what? I don't even know.
I do.
Okay, you go.
It's OccupyBoston.com.
All right.
Well, you can read me on my website, my take, when I put it up there on mycann.net.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.